Hello everybody and welcome to another edition of CCSD Insights News and Notes. I'm Andy Pruitt. In this edition, since it's the start of another school year, we wanted to break down the standard response protocol. We felt it was important for our parents and our guardians, along with our students and staff, to know a little bit more about how we are responding to security issues and operational changes on our campus. To help us go through the standard response protocol in more detail is our Executive Director of Security and Emergency Management, Michael Reidenbach. Michael, thank you for joining us for this edition today.
Thanks for having me.
So back before we switched to the SRP, many of our community members, our staff members, our students will remember the different color codes we had to address security and operational changes on our campus. But midway through the 1920 school year, we switched to the SRP, which has 5 words or phrases that we use to respond to those things. Can you talk a little bit more about the background and the reason why we switched to the SRP?
Sure. So when we were using the old system, which was code red, code yellow, code green, those were the words that we used to initiate certain responses in our campus related to certain types of situations or potential emergencies that we may be dealing with. As with things in the emergency management world, we evolve, we grow based on lessons that we've learned and with best practices. And through that evolution, we adopted the standard response protocol, which is a system that's put forward by the I Love You Guys Foundation, which is a nonprofit organization focused on school safety. The Standard Response Protocol, or the SRP, is a nationally adopted system that provides us with plain language terminology that we can use on our campus to initiate different responses based on a variety of situations that are happening.
So let's go through the SRP, those 5 terms or phrases that are used, and also kind of maybe briefly highlight what's happening on our campuses and what our staff and students are doing in response.
Sure. So the SRP is made up of various response terms that also are associated with action terms. So when we initiate one of these SRP responses, we use the response term plus the action terms to provide individuals on campus, whether you've been trained or not, with an indication of what you should be doing during that situation. So the first response in the SRP is the secure protocol. So when we initiate the secure protocol, we use the terms get inside, lock outside doors. And typically we would initiate the secure protocol when something is happening in the neighborhood that could potentially impact our operations, such as a bank robbery, a police chase in the area, or any type of other public safety issue that's happening that has not yet impacted us, but we just want to make extra sure that it doesn't. And so during a secure, we're coming inside, things inside of the building are happening normally. Classes are happening as normal, even class exchanges within the building are happening, but we're just not going outside during a secure. The next one, which is probably our most elevated threat, is called a lockdown. During a lockdown, we use the action term locks lights out of sight, and during a lockdown, we're taking a defensive posture against that severe threat that's on the campus, which we commonly think about as an armed intruder. Next, we will talk about a shelter. So during the shelter protocol, we would announce a hazard and a safety strategy, because a shelter can go along with many different types of threats, which could be a tornado, it could be an earthquake, or even a hazardous material situation. Next, in the SRP, we have evacuate, where we would announce individuals to evacuate to an announced location. An evacuation could be used to evacuate the building, or it could even be used to evacuate a certain part of the building based on a certain emergency, such as a gas leak in that wing of the building, or potentially a suspicious package. Finally, we have the hold protocol. During a hold, we advise individuals to remain in your classrooms and to clear the halls. Hold is really used as more of a student management response that we might put into effect. Let's say EMS is responding to the school to transport a student or a staff member to the hospital. Or it could be there's a physical disturbance in the hallway that we just want to keep students away from. So we would ask students and staff to hold in their classroom and clear the halls.
I want to go back to the first one you mentioned, secure. That is new for this school year because that used to be the lockout term. Can you tell us why we're moving away from lockout and now using secure to describe that response?
That's right. So again, plans evolve over time based on lessons learned and best practice. And the I Love You Guys Foundation made a revision to the SRP, which changes the old lockout term to secure. So nothing in the action terms and nothing in the response will change, just that terminology from lockout to secure changes. And that change was made because they were finding that there was confusion between the term lockout and lockdown, which have 2 very different responses. So they wanted to just draw a greater line in the sand between those 2 responses to ensure there was less confusion.
Communication is important when we're talking about the SRP, but not just about what's happening and how we're responding inside the school, but also notifying others, specifically parents and guardians. When would they find out, and why would they find out that one of these responses was used during the school day?
Typically, parents and guardians are notified of an SRP response when there's a critical incident on the campus that has a significant impact on the campus operations or is a prolonged event. If it's a secure that does not last long because of a situation in the neighborhood that was resolved without incident, parents may not always hear about that, but if there's a secure that lasts for a significant amount of time, then they will certainly hear about it. Similar with hold, like I mentioned, it's more of a student management tool, so if a school initiates a hold, that notification may not go out. So typically we focus on those situations that are significant in nature, that are prolonged. We certainly want parents to be aware of those so they can rest assured that things are being handled and their children are safe.
And along the lines of this communication topic, when would parents hear about one of these responses and how the campus handled this situation?
If it's a significant event or even certain prolonged events, we would certainly notify parents while the event is happening to make sure they stay up to date and have the best information possible to reassure them about the safety of their students. But if it's a situation that's handled relatively quickly or with little impact on the school, it's possible they may not be notified until the end of the school day.
And finally, Michael, as it relates to parents and guardians, when they are notified about one of these responses occurring and happening on their child's campus, what should they do? How should they respond?
Sure, we want them to pay close attention to the communication methods they have with their schools. So if they receive their messages by telephone call or through text message via our CCSD Alerts program, or maybe it's a push notification through the CCSD app, to stay tuned to those messages coming directly from CCSD or even from our public safety partners via their social media channels to get that real-time information directly from us. We want to push out information to, again, reassure parents to the greatest extent possible, but also provide instruction if instruction needs to be given. So when we have a situation happening on a campus, our staff are going to be very focused on responding to that situation. They want to dedicate all their resources to that response to try to mitigate the impacts and to keep everyone safe. And so we want to try to limit the phone calls that are coming in for them to have to respond to those and take away from that response. So we ask parents to not phone the school after receiving one of these messages. Stay tuned for more information. And if we ask you to report to the school, then please follow those instructions. Otherwise, we ask that you stay away from the campus, again, so responders can adequately respond, get the resources they need to the campus. And then in a significant event, if we do have to evacuate the campus, we will notify you of that off-campus location where we would ask you to report so that we can reunify you with your student.
Well, Michael, all very helpful information, and we look forward to seeing how this SRP continues to assist our students and our staff on all of our campuses.
Thanks for the opportunity to share the information. And
you can learn more about the Standard Response Protocol on the district website. It is available at ccsdschools.com/SRP. Thanks for watching this edition of CCSD Insights News and Notes. I'm Andy Pruitt, and we'll see you next time.